Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the High Pop Professor. Today, I'd like to showcase a run of cards that I've been chasing after from a 1994 Pinnacle Museum collection, and it's one of my very favorite Dufex parallels. In fact, it was the very first full set Dufex parallel in the history of the hobby. And so Dufex is an amazing technology that I absolutely love and adore. It was only really a thing from 1993 until Pinnacle went belly up in 98. There was a brief excursion. There was one insert that Topps had for Finest in 2000, and again, briefly, that Donruss had in 05. But aside from that, this is technology that we haven't really seen much in the ultra-modern hobby. And so without further ado, let's turn the camera around and take a look at this beautiful assortment of 94 Pinnacle Museum Collection cards. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with some of these amazing cards from 94 Pinnacle Museum Collection. Let's go ahead and start out first with this one that sort of leads it off beautifully. There's a Pinnacle logo. The entire card is radiating Dufex from that Pinnacle logo. And it turns out this was actually a card that was, well, it's a redemption card, as it says there. A handful of these cards, I guess, weren't ready when it was time for Series 2 to pack out. And so when you got one of these, they had a placeholder card ready to go. And so you would get this card and fill it out, and you would get, this was card number, what was it? Card number 279, which I think that might have been Geronimo Baroa. Anyway, but there are a couple of players that did not receive one, but as we're going to introduce this run today together, it makes sense to go ahead and start. And what a beautiful technology. This motion that we see, it's not quite etched foil. It's different. There's more movement involved in these Dufex cards than you see on just a standard etched foil that we might expect to see from Upper Deck cards, SP cards, things like that. So this Dufex was an entirely different animal, entirely different beast altogether. Okay, so we're going to start with a couple. I have a couple that are in slabs, and then a bunch of them that are just top loaders. So let's go ahead and get the slabs out of the way. Of course, I have to start with my guy, Greg Maddux. And this is, what's really cool about these cards is that the Pinnacle logo in this set is the one that's going to be radiating these lines of Dufex across all these cards. And so this is a PSA, this is an assigned Gem Mint 10. This is one of a very few rare Gem Mint 10 copies of anything that I own that I'm planning on keeping. As you know, most of my cards and slabs are in PSA assigned 8s or 9s, mostly 9s, I would say, but this one is a 10, and so I'm happy to have it. A good opportunity came up, and I was able to pick it up for a really, really reasonable price, so why not? All right, here's another one I was able to get. This is a Ken Griffey Jr. Gorgeous card here. I will say not quite as iconic, I think, as his blowing the bubble picture from the following year in 95. But beautiful nonetheless. And this was in a PSA assigned 9. All right, I only have 2 more slabs here. I was able to get this one. Love this Tony Gwynn. Beautiful, beautiful card. Beautiful. All of these are just, the shine on these things is just fantastic. And for the sake of brevity, I am going to skip showing the backs of all of these, because I do have quite a bit. And again, not the whole set, but got quite a few to show here. And the last of the slabs is a Cal Ripken. Was able to get in a fairly recent PSA return. This is also in a PSA assigned 9, mint 9. I thought I had a shot at a 10. But yeah, I was really pleased with that. And so we'll go ahead and have these on display. I'll take down Maddux because we have this big Zenith Dufex in the background, so I figure that's probably good enough. Okay, and now I have a bunch of other cards. A lot of these are minor stars, semi-stars, and, well, full-fledged stars from 94. Now, I also included in here a couple joke cards, and I'm going to start with one of the joke cards. And the first is one of the greatest images, playing images. I think it was captured during the 90s. And this was a third baseman for the Twins that actually came to the Pirates for a while. And this is Pat Mears. And, you know, this this image is really just something else. I don't think that Pinnacle would be able to get away with something like this. Putting a picture like this of Griffey or something, I don't think that would happen. But anyway, I just thought this was maybe the funniest image, and so I had to go ahead and pick this up. Also, in the 90s, Tim Salmon. Here's a Tim Salmon, maybe one of the most talented players that was never an all-star once in his entire career. Pretty crazy when you think about that. What's cool about this is one of those cards that, if we can get it in the right light, we can see some of the bubbling. These little lines are actually on the card itself. One of the condition issues with some of these Dufex cards is that, yeah, they can and oftentimes will bubble like that. And so they are tougher to grade because of issues like that. All right, here we have one of the fastest guys in the 90s, Kenny Lofton. He was that guy who would have 60, 70 stolen bases. Not quite Rickey Henderson tier, but man, that guy could play. Here we go, the Wizard of Oz. Greatest defensive shortstop of all time. I still love watching his highlight reels. Unbelievable. Just amazing. Speaking of shortstops, this guy was a perennial all-star. Barry Larkin. Fantastic. Love this shine. How about Jim Thome? Yeah, put him with the other Cleveland Indians over here, Kenny Lofton. And speaking of Indians, how about Albert Bell? Joey Bell. This guy could hit too. I tell you what, he was a little standoffish sometimes, but man, that guy could hit. Oh, that year he had 50 homers and 50 doubles. Rafael Palmeiro, this guy has to be one of the most underrated players ever. I understand that, you know, like Gary Sheffield, he's not going to get in the Hall of Fame anytime soon. Well, at least not before guys like Bonds and A-Rod and, you know, Clemens. But, man, what an underrated talent. This guy was absurdly good. How about Steady Eddie? Eddie Murray. One of the very, very few 500 club, 3,000 hit club, 500 homer club. Incredible. All right. How about Wade Boggs? Yeah, I do find these cards are, they really, especially the lighter background ones, are just phenomenal. Just amazing. Amazing cards. And back to that Indians team. Manny Ramirez as a rookie prospect. Speaking of guys that probably won't get in the Hall of Fame, but probably should. I should probably make a video about Hall of Fame inductees and controversies about that. That would rile some people up. Now, Andre Dawson, this is actually a card I pulled out of a pack last year. My brother, Iconic Al, gifted me a box of Series 2, 94 Pinnacle, and I busted that, and this was the best museum collections card that I pulled out of there. And so, I was very happy to join all these other star players. Let's make some room for the Hawk. All right. Now, you're going to see a couple of these. Now, Tony Gwynn, I already had a PSA assigned 9 of Tony Gwynn. And, sometimes I just can't help myself. And I have to reacquire the same card again. I don't know if anyone else has this issue. Here's a Mike Piazza. One of the greatest offensive catchers of all time. And Gary Sheffield, we just mentioned him as a Marlin. All right, and continuing on, we have a Chipper Jones, a very young Chipper Jones, rookie prospect. It's kind of funny. He seemed like he was a rookie for like 5 years. He had those cards from 91, and this is 94. And I think he had actually been injured for quite a while there, and so You know, his first full season, I don't think, was until 95. Then we have Jeff Bagwell, who was an amazing player. Yeah, these museum collections cards, they aren't serial numbered or anything. They're not even all that rare to get. Here's a guy, Mark McGuire. They were only seated about 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 packs, depending if you got the hobby or the retail. But because they did actually, it was a full set parallel, there were so many no-name players that it was tough to dodge around if you were trying to find guys like Barry Bonds or Griffey or Maddox. Now, this has to be one of my favorite images in this set because it looks like he's wearing these sunglasses and he's staring at that Pinnacle logo that's shining so brightly like a beacon. So I absolutely love this image for that reason. And this happens to be one of those cards that I couldn't help myself. I do have multiple copies of it. I actually had another one in an SGC 9.5 that I actually ended up selling last year because I was like, well, how many copies of the same card do I need? And yeah, so anyway, sometime during my downsizing, one of my pruning of my bonsai tree sessions, I moved that one along. And that was before I had a bunch of other slabs. And speaking of duplicates, here's another Griffey that's not in a PSA slab, but we can go ahead and show that one anyway. How about a Pudge Rodriguez? How about one of the greatest defensive catchers of the era? Pudge Rodriguez. Then we got the big hurt, Frank Thomas. Love this one. Great image. Just shooting the breeze in the dugout. How about another horizontal card? How about Kirby Puckett? Yeah, so aside from these cards sometimes bubbling a little bit on the surface, sometimes they can actually green and hulk out a little bit too. You can see Puckett looks a little sickly hue right there. So you do have to watch for those. Just one more thing. Here's a beautiful Bo Jackson. He's with the Angels. What an athlete. And then let's go ahead and join these other two horizontal cards with another one. The late Rickey Henderson, the Man of Steel. And this is, speaking of the imagery and the pictures here, this is exactly how you think of Rickey Henderson, sliding headfirst into a base. That's exactly right. This is proper. And so while we're at it, we got all these horizontal ones. Let's keep on going. We have Juan Gone. Fierce hitter. I don't know if guys like Juan Gonzalez are going to be remembered, 20 years from now. But I remember we were playing against these guys. Whew. Sosa. Fantastic. All right, now let's go to some pitchers. And so I mentioned before there are two sort of joke cards here, and well, here's the other one. Here's our Todd Van Poppel. Yeah, I couldn't resist. I had to pick up a Todd Van Poppel. He's just kind of a running joke that we have, and so yeah, we'll go ahead and put him up there too. And as for the other pitchers that we have here, actual talented pitchers, good pitchers, here's one, the Eck. Good old Dennis Eckersley. We have the other Hall of Famer here, Trevor Hoffman. And we've got another one, another proof that the Hall of Fame voting is all just a big popularity contest and has nothing whatsoever to do with what you do on the field. Otherwise, this guy would have been in already. Kurt Schilling. Fantastic. Great pitcher. Speaking of great pitchers, here's Mr. John Smoltz, part of that amazing Braves trio. Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine, that dominated. In fact, speaking of Smoltz Maddox Glavin. Let's go ahead and get Glavin up here with him. There we are. It seemed like in the 90s it was always one of them winning those Cy Youngs, you know. Here, let's move this stack a little bit. There we go. And of course, I know I already showed a Maddox that was in the PSA 10, but you know, why not? You know. And the fact is, I actually need a couple of these, right? Because I got the slabbed one, but that doesn't fit in my top loader binder because I have to have one of these in with my 94 Pinnacle Museum runs. And then the problem is I also, though, have a run of Maddox Dufex cards, so I need one to go in that one, too. So I actually do have 3 of these. So what are you going to do? But as we said before, let's go ahead and put these Braves pictures, let's put them all. Bing, bing, bing. Maddox, Smoltz, Glavin. That seems proper. All right, and while we're finishing up with some pictures here, here's a guy that I think will be in the Hall of Fame soon enough. Billy Wagner. Here's a draft picks card. So it's a very, very early Billy Wagner. And then let's end out with some of the 3 of the other greatest pitchers ever to play the game. Pedro Martinez as an Expo. And he was just getting his groove there. I think really he started to explode in about 96. Was the first year he started to really get there. And of course we have Clemens, the Rocket. And we can't talk about some of the greatest pitchers to ever play the game if we don't mention the big unit, Randy Johnson. So I figured, you know, in lieu of collecting the entire set, I'm not much of a set collector, but I figured I would at least put together a respectable run for a lot of the very best players from this Pinnacle Museum set. So this is sort of my take on, you know, because maybe I don't need every player, maybe I don't need to collect the entirety of the set, but really this video and my other Dufex video, and I might have another one coming up soon, is really a tribute to Dufex of Life, who just has an amazing collection and, of course, a special love of this amazing Dufex technology. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you again in the next video.